Are you thinking about detoxing for the new year? You know, we're in January, we've got to take care of ourselves. Maybe this beer could be the solution. This is a Triple Fruited Gose, and it's got black currants, blackberries and raspberries in it. It must be healthy. Let's see what it's like. Check out the review. Welcome back to Rocker's Beer Review. Today we're going to be reviewing this beer from Staggeringly Good. It is called a Souropod. It's an Imperial Triple Fruited Gose, and it has, as I said in the introduction, it's got blackberries, black currants, raspberries, it's got ginger, it's got organic coriander seeds, it's got hops, yeast, it's got sea salt in it. To me that sounds pretty healthy, doesn't it? You know, this must be good for you. I mean, it is coming in at 7.3%, so there's quite a few units in this. But let's check it out, shall we? Because, you know, we're in January now. We want to drink health. We want to be eating and drinking healthily. So anything with extra fruit in has got to be good for us. So let's get this. Well, I call it beer, but, you know, when you look at it poured, it's sort of looking a bit like Ribena. Poured it pretty bad, but, you know, there we go. Right, well, I've made a little bit of a mess of that. It looks a little bit like a raspberry slush puppy. It's obviously very dark. It's got a lot of floating things in it. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of sediment in there. A lot of it. You can see those big chunks of sediment in there. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look much like a beer, does it? It looks pretty much like a fruit smoothie. Apart, you know, once we got rid of that head, it's a fruit smoothie. Let's see what it smells like. Yeah, you can smell that. You know it's a Gose because it's got that sort of. You can get that sort of salty and sour sort of in the aroma. You're getting the raspberries, your black currants, the blackberries. They're all in there, you know. Even sort of a black cherry sort of aroma as well. Very, very fruity. See if I'm getting yeah, I'm getting a little bit of ginger, but I wouldn't say overly you know, an overpowerness of ginger, which, you know, obviously ginger as a little spice can be quite strong. Coriander, not really getting that in the aromas, but, you know, the head is starting to go down a little bit now. Let's see if we can just top it up a little bit. Still looks, you know, I'm a bit concerned about all those floaty bits in it. We haven't had a drink since for a while which has got that much of sediment in it, but there's certainly a lot of it. Let's see what it's like, shall we? Cheers, everyone. Really, really sour, really tart. You know, with those raspberries and black currants and blackberries, it's, you know, it tastes like real fresh fruits that's really sort of tart. There's not that, there's a bit of sweetness, but it's more that sort of tartness that you get with fresh fruits opposed to sweets, for example, of those flavours. It's not as sweet. You're getting a little bit of that sort of that saltiness in it as well. There's certainly plenty of salt flavour in there, but it's, you know, you can see how, look at it. It's almost stuck to the glass. It is really, really thick. It is quite carbonated though. I'm going in again. It's incredibly refreshing though. I mean, those strawberries, raspberries, no, it's not, there's no strawberries in that. Those raspberries though, they're almost more overpowering than the black currants and the blackberries in there. Really, really sour though, really tart, and that saltiness. But, you know, as sours go, it's pretty good. It's certainly very thick. It's gloopy. It does taste like, you know, it has that sort of mouthfeel of a fruit smoothie. You know, when you just put fruit in a blender and you blend it up, and it's, you know, it is quite thick. You get that sort of pulpiness of the actual fruit itself, and certainly you've got that in there. And I'm sure that a lot of that sediment is bits of fruit and everything in there. It's nice and refreshing. Are you drinking a beer? You don't really taste like you're drinking a beer. It's a fruit smoothie. It's what it is. It's an alcoholic fruit smoothie. A little bit of saltiness just gives it that little bit of an edge that makes you realise that it's a grown-up drink opposed to a kid's drink. I don't know why I'm thinking that with the saltiness, but you know, there's something there that tells you this isn't just fruit juice. So that little bit of saltiness just gives it a little bit more body, gives it a bit more, you know, contains the flavours a little bit so it doesn't become overly fruity. It just gives it a little bit of backbone, really. It's quite nice. Refreshing. Is it the sort of drink you'd be drinking in the winter? Probably not, but you know, it's a great alternative sort of drink. And to be honest, it tastes so fruity that you feel that as you're drinking it, it's good for you. And you know, in my book, I think that's a good thing. But what do you think? You know, have you tried this before? I know we've seen a few from Staggeringly Good, and they do, you know, lots of interesting ones. We had the peach one that was very peach. This is obviously the red, you know, currant fruits, the raspberries, blackberries and blackcurrants. It tastes very much like it, but I mean, look at the state of that glass. It's all over it. It is just like fruit blended up and put into a glass with a little bit of salt sprinkled on it. That's what it's like. But let's get some scores, shall we? Okay, the scores are in for Souropod, and this is from Staggeringly Good Brewery based down in Southampton. Obviously we've got the pterodactyl. We always have some sort of dinosaur on their pictures, and as you can see, you've got the raspberries and the black currants and the main fruits on there. What was it? Yeah, it was blackcurrant, blackberries, blackcurrants and raspberries, triple fruited. Obviously they're the 3 different fruits in there, and it comes in at 7.3%, so you know, it's quite alcoholic really when you think about it for basically an alcoholic fruit juice for what it is. But first things first, aromas. I mean, we know from the can that it's got blackcurrants, blackberries and raspberries, and it certainly smells like that. It does smell a little bit like a Ribena, you know, it's got that sort of those fruit, which obviously has the blackcurrants in it. Ribena with a bit of raspberries in it. Certainly smells like you would expect it to. So I'm giving it a 14 for aroma. Appearance, well, I mean, it's an interesting one. You look at this and you would say that doesn't look like beer, and it's difficult to describe it as a beer. It is very sort of, you know, the colours that you would expect, like you know, if you blended those 3 fruits up into a glass, that's pretty much what you would look. It's certainly very, very thick. You know, you can see the level. You know, you can see the state of the glass. I mean, it's, you know, made a right mess of the glass. The other thing is, obviously, I mean, look at the size of some of these bits in there. They're absolutely humongous, you know. It's almost like a meal in a glass. I would have preferred it not with all those sorts of lumps and sediment in it. I think it sort of, if it was a bit smooth, it ruins it. But, you know, some people can look at that and go, you know, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't really affect the taste. But some people can look at that and go, oh, there's something not right about that. And I'm still looking at it and I find how big they are. I mean, look at the size of these bits. So I'm going to mark it down a little bit. So I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 for appearance. Flavour, well, it does exactly what it says on the tin. It's got the raspberries, it's got the blackcurrants, and it's got the blackberries in it. It's got a nice little saltiness about it, but not overly salty, not overly sour. Sometimes they can be overly sour, you know, and that can almost like ruin that fruitiness about it. It can be just so one note in terms of very sour and salty. But this just, you get the fruits, all 3 of those fruits all mixed in. And then you get that sort of saltiness on the back end, really, which is, you know, which is pleasanter than it actually sounds. I think it's quite well balanced in terms of the sourness of it. Can I taste the ginger in it? I'm struggling. Coriander seeds, I'm struggling a little bit. Sometimes, again, they can be overblown. I'm sure they're in there. You know, the ginger would give it. Let me just have another. There's a slight warmth, but it's very, very difficult to pick out that ginger flavour in there. But, you know, in terms of the fruit flavours, it is very much, you know, it's like a fruit smoothie. It tastes like one. You can't really taste the fact that it's 7.3%, which is quite high in alcohol. And as I said before, I feel healthier just by drinking it. Every mouthful, I feel stronger and healthier. I feel I'm getting fruit into my body. You know, my body, you know, it feels like a detox, you know. I don't know if there's fruit in this, so you know it's going to be probably the healthiest beer you're going to drink. So you know, give it a go. Try and ignore the alcohol part of it, you know, because I'm sure when you work out the calories, they'll be quite high. But you know, everyone says you've got to eat more fruit in your diet. This is a good start, you know. Flavour wise, then I'm giving it a 34 actually for flavour, because I think it's got a nice balance between that salty sourness and the fruit, the triple fruit that's in here. So 34 for flavour. Value for money, well, I mean, this was, again, I think this was getting on for a $5 for a can. Yes, there's lots of fruit in it. It feels healthy. You can spend that sort of money on that sort of 440 ml of a fruit smoothie with all those fruits in it. It's got fruits and it's going to be more expensive. Fruit is not cheap. You know, this is the thing I always say, that, you know, how can we get people healthy when a packet of biscuits is 20p, but you can pay 50p for an apple? You know, fruit is an expensive commodity, and after Brexit, it's probably going to be more expensive. So, value, I'm giving it a, you know, middle of the road, 7 out of 10 for value. And then my overall experience, well, I'm quite enjoying it actually. I mean, would I want to drink more? It's quite heavy. It's very thick. It's fruity, and although there has that sort of saltiness on the back end, it's not overpowering. It doesn't make you sort of, you know, gag to the point where it's like too salty. It is quite pleasant in terms of a nicely balanced. And the fruit content is just really, really strong, really nice and thick and gloopy. So I'm giving it 14 for overall experience. So we top those scores up, we're getting a damn good 75. That's not bad for this little beer. I call it a beer, but you know, it's as far removed as a beer as you could probably get, really. 7.3% Triple Fruited Gose. We don't do that many Gose on it. I think this would be a fantastic drink in the summertime, but also a fantastic drink for January. If you want a detox, this is a good start. You know, I'm not a medical man, I'm not a doctor, but you know, when you taste this, you'll think there's a lot of goodness in this drink. So that's a good thing, especially for January. So stay safe, stay healthy, and remember, keep on rocking.